Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm Lucas and welcome back to another video, and today I am going to be talking through and I guess reacting in a way to my race against Valtteri Bottas, this year's Race of Champions in the Nations Cup. So without further ado, I'm just going to play the race first and then we're going to, see what we think.
Blakeley was very fast, very committed yesterday out there on the snow and ice. It wasn't just in the sims that the guys competed, it was also out here on the snow and ice. Conditions look perfect and we've got a green light and we're away. Bottas on the inside, tight line. Blakeley with the smoother start to the course. It is a much more flowing, much faster outside line. They will cross over in the middle, over the jump and under the bridge. And already, Timmy, it's a nice start from Valtteri. And Blakeley is looking pretty tidy out there as well.
Yeah, it's hard to know early in this stage who is actually ahead, but I think Blakeley has got a very nice start. He's actually looking a little bit more aggressive in his driving style than Valtteri on the inside. So, yeah, it's all about, we also have to learn watching this, what driving style is fastest in each car. As we see them go around lap one now, we get an indication of what kind of gap we will get used to seeing. In the Cupra Urban Rebel concept car, Blakeley crosses the line 51.8, Valtteri 55.8, so about a 4-second gap between them. We'll wait to see what kind of split is going to be the norm with these Cupras. But Blakeley, as you said, very aggressive out there. He took the victory last year against Sebastian Vettel. He's used to beating Formula One drivers out there on the snow and ice. It was a bit wide there, but he managed to avoid the snowbank. I don't think we should underestimate Blakeley because, as you said, he won against Schumacher last year. He's obviously a great talent, winning so much on esports, but probably never just got the chance to try his wings out in real cars. But let's see who crosses the line first here now. I think it's going to be Blakeley. He's done a wonderful race. Valtteri takes the jump, Blakeley wins, and wins with ease. So Blakeley, once again, as he did in 2022, defeats his Formula One rival, the E-Rock champion, and look how much that means to him. He made a name for himself last year, defeating Sebastian Vettel, turns up this year, wins the E-Rock championship, beats Valtteri Bottas.
So this was actually the very first race of the Nations Cup. So yeah, we were obviously getting ready, getting lined up, and it's it gives an extra sense of anticipation when you are literally the first race of the day. It was Team E-Rock against Team Finland in the first round of Nations Cup, and this kicked off with myself racing Valtteri. So we are driving in these Cupras, which were, I think, 380 horsepower. I only found out I was driving this car on that day as well. Because originally we weren't going to drive this car, and then I got a message on the morning, maybe like, I think it was like 45 minutes before I had to hop in, and it was like, can you come down like 30 minutes earlier, because you're going to be driving the Cupra, and I needed to obviously do some practice. So I did 2 laps practice round the track to learn this car, and then obviously the next time I drove it was in this race. So it's a bit of a whirlwind. That's Race of Champions for you. So yeah, and obviously as well with the conditions, because it's the first race of the day, as you can see, everything's very smooth. The snow is very even. There's not much. It's not as bad on and off line. So it meant that, you know, with the studded tires you could get good grip into the snow. But yeah, we actually managed to get a good launch, and it was great because you had we had launch control as well. So there was a button on the steering wheel and we had launch control, and you basically press the button and it's electric, so it's just drive. There's no, you know, gears or anything like that. So you just have, you know, the mode of drive. And then you basically pull the handbrake to 100% and you can modulate the throttle to wherever you want. And I actually did a practice start when I first drove this car, and I get so much wheel spin. On the line there was not much grip. It was very slippy off the start line. Improved the start a lot for this run, and then as you can see immediately there, which I'm just going to quickly review it, you can see both of us actually in pretty much sync. We use the handbrake, and what I found the whole way through these races was in the electric cars, the handbrake was really useful, because you can't really steer it with the front, because you'll just understeer and you'll not be able to get the forward motion, because all the cars were 4-wheel drive, and that is a very different discipline, very different driving style to certainly any Formula style driving that I would ever do. So it was all about adaptation and rewiring your mind to get into it. But as you can see, we're actually really got a really nice sideways motion all the way through there. And this was a really powerful car. It was really quick. And it's all sort of like a dance. You just want to try and avoid understeer. You want to try and you want to be going sideways. When I was watching all the pros, so even going into here, you can see just a nice constant sideways drift, sideways, 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 using all that power because the front wheels want to, you know, pull you along. It's four-wheel drive, and you've got to make use of that. And when I was watching all the pros, like, you know, Oliver Solberg, Peter Solberg, you know, all the rally guys, they were sideways on entry everywhere. Like, it was phenomenal to watch, and really put into perspective how you need to drive these cars. So because I did the morning warm-up, and then immediately after the warm-up I went trackside to watch these pros in these cars and all the rally guys, and I learned a lot from that alone, so that was a really useful lesson.
Yeah,
then heading into this section, now if you've seen the Race of Champions, you'll know that this is where the jump is. This year there was a big jump, which was pretty awesome and terrifying at the same time, because I may have had an issue, or not an issue, I may have had a little bonk in practice on the Friday, but we don't talk about it. But yeah, as you can see, in these Cupras, there was only 2 Cupras. Like, these were the 2 Cupras for the whole event. There was no spares. These were the cars. So for the jump, there was a chicane. Basically, you had, yeah, obviously the camera cuts away, but it was a left, right, left over the jump.
Driving style is
for that bit, and it meant that when you come over the jump, you can just see there we're barely, because this is us here, we're barely going, you know, we're not even taking flight, you know, we are just, you know, cruising, because you have to be very careful, because if you hit any one of those, if you hit any of these, 5-second penalty, so you absolutely wanted to avoid that. And then yeah, heading into the second lap for us now, and you can see the speed. It's so fast. Like, by the line, the speed was unbelievable. And then once you get to the line, slam it onto the brakes, and then handbrake now, and to get the rotation in. Otherwise, you're not going to turn. You know, that's what I focused on heavily in the electric cars. Is mainly was I wanted to use the handbrake to get the reroute, and then, you know, use the four-wheel drive. That was the way I felt I had to drive these cars. And then yeah, and then you can see here Valtteri doesn't. I don't think Valtteri used the handbrake either. He went for a more like a traditional style into this corner where he winds on quite, I think, a massive amount of lock on it. Because you can see even in the steering, so he's using all the track width here, and then massive amount of steering lock. But because you get four-wheel drive, those front wheels are, you know, creating, you know, turn in a way, and that's, you can see it with the steering lock. And then he saws out of it there. You can see the hand transition as he gets the reroute, and then he's sort of four-wheel sliding all the way out. So those were the 2 different ways you could do it. You could try and induce it with the front end, which you can do in certain corners, or you use the handbrake, and I opted for the handbrake solution. And then this section of the track here was really high speed. Like, this was the fast part of the track, so you're just dancing with the car, just trying to keep the speed up as much as possible. And it was very easy this year compared to the year before. As you can see, the little mound in the middle of the track, the little mini snow ice wall, they were very easy to hit and to go over, because I've done both of those things. So that was a big challenge, to push the limit but also not go over it. For Jarno and myself doing these races, we were giving it 110% all the time. We were taking like 100 maximum risk, because we felt for us to even have a chance to, you know, do well, we needed to give it everything. We would rather give it everything and lose than stay a bit cautious and then think to ourselves, oh, what could have been. In a way, we took the more risky approach, but we would do it again. And then this was probably my biggest commitment of the lap, and I was always into this corner all the way through the weekend. I was actually, if anything, I was probably too committed into this corner. I was always wide on the first part, as you can see, because I, you know, getting the handbrake here, and the dangerous part of this is I could get away with it. This was the first race of the day, so I could get away with it now. The track's fresh, so there isn't as much built up snow on the outside, which becomes a very big factor when we do the later races. But as you can see, we commit really high, and there still is a lot of snow that you can see getting kicked up here, but you would want to probably be a bit tighter where there's more of a clear ice line, if that makes sense. So we could get away with this attack, this big attack, as Oliver would say, into this section, but it was probably what cost me later in the day when the snow started to build up. But again, these are lessons that you learn.
The snowbank. I don't think we should underestimate
And then, yeah,
because as you said, he won against Schumacher last year. He's obviously a great talent.
Such a the track this year in general as well was just so good. Like especially the back end of the circuit that was furthest away from where we were keeping the cars. That was a really cool section of the track. It was a lot faster this year, a lot flatter as well, because last year there was a bit more elevation. And then, yeah, funny thing here is I knew I was on a pretty clean run by this point, but I didn't have a clue where I was relative to Valtteri at this point in the lap. Absolutely zero idea. So I was just pushing, and then coming out over the under the bridge, there was like a little bump here or something, or whether it was a bump or whether it was me got on the brakes, I don't know, but I actually jolted to the right. So coming into this penultimate corner, you can actually see I am I am miles away from this apex because I was actually bumped out to the right hand side, and then I had to yoink the handbrake big time to try and, you know, salvage the momentum. And we are actually, it's actually quite scary to watch back because we are much wider than it feels much wider looking at this now than it did when I was driving. But thankfully, with the power on the four-wheel drive of this Cupra, we can see we just perfectly, basically straight as an arrow on the exit, getting the power down, and then we had one more corner to negotiate.
I think it's going to be Blakeley. He's
and we pretty much perfected that last corner as well. We were right up against the snow wall, and there's a nice little, you can just see here, that's a concrete wall in the middle, but there's a nice little lip of snow built up, so you can lean up next to that snow, and it means you don't hit the wall. So we're just kissing that snow, beautifully kicking it up, and then cross the line. And that was the first race of the day, and we managed to take the win as well, which was, I mean, heading into this event, I think if you'd have told us that we would have won even one race, like, I mean, last year I obviously took a win last year as well, but even then, that felt completely impossible and completely unreal in my head. It felt like crazy to even believe. But if you were to tell us that coming into this Race of Champions that we would have even won a race again, let alone, you know, go on to, you know, get past the first round, we would have been ecstatic. So to kick off the day with, you know, a really, you know, solid start, driving, you know, just getting better and better with the driving as well. It's such a unique discipline, or not unique, but it's such a different discipline. I think that's the better terminology, because, you know, everything I'm used to is tarmac. I'm a tarmac specialist in that regard, so everything I'm learning on snow is learned on is just learning as you go and really building that confidence, and also building the self-belief within yourself as well, because it is quite a daunting, I mean, maybe people don't see it as much, but when you're lining up against Valtteri Bottas, you know, you are sitting there thinking, God, do you have enough in the tank? Can you even get that far? So to even race these, that's the thing I constantly come back to say, is to get the chance to race these guys. A massive privilege, a huge honour. To speak to them as well after the races. Every single driver at the Race of Champions, you know, they're all really lovely to speak to. You know, some of them are some of the drivers are some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, and to even get to be in the same air as them is quite surreal for someone, you know, someone like me, it feels. So, and you can see that I was in just total disbelief at this point, because I didn't know, from all I knew, the gap was a tenth or a second. I didn't know what the gap was going to be, so I just knew that I'd won because I looked up at the board, the big TV board, and I saw Blakeley ahead. I was like, oh my God. And yeah, thank you very much everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, please let me know what your thoughts are down below, if you would like to see, or what would you like me to talk about differently if I were to watch the other races that I competed in over the Race of Champions. I'd be really intrigued to know what your thoughts are, so please give me your feedback down in the comments below. I can barely speak, but yeah, love you all, have a great rest of your day, and I hope to catch you guys in the next video. See you later everyone, ciao, see ya.